Hai visto le gambe?
Allora, buongiorno, il grandissimo piacere, vi presento Jeff Bauman. E Jake Gyllenhaal. Jeff Bauman, come sapete, è autore del libro da cui poi il film ha attinto, e Jake Gyllenhaal, interprete ma anche produttore del film. Dunque avrei una domanda per entrambi, tanto per cominciare. A Jeff vorrei chiedere che cosa ha provato quando ha scoperto che qualcuno era interessato a raccontare la sua storia, e a Jake cosa l'ha spinto a voler interpretare questo film e a produrlo.
When I first got approached, I was approached by Brett Witter, who co-authored my book with me, called Stronger. And we really worked short period of time on that book, about 8 months, and it was really chaotic. It was really in the beginning of my recovery, so it was just a chaotic time for me. But you know, a year after, I got approached by Todd Lieberman and Mandeville and this screen playwright, is that what you call it? Playwright John Polono. And we worked on the adaptation of my book, and then shortly after, we got David Gordon Green, the director, and then Jake jumped in and swooped in, and you know, just dove right into the project, and you know, that's how it all became one. That's why we're here.
When the story came to me, as all these stories come to all of us, sometimes they're there because we need to learn something about ourselves that we never knew we had to. And in the case of Jeff's story, the script came to me first in a very early draft, and I read it and I found myself laughing by page 4, you know, which was not my expectation, knowing what the story was about, having really only known Jeff from the photograph from that day. And I think what led me to want to be so intensely a part of the story was that I think I had a lot to learn from it. And I think that the story of resilience, and I think that the story of struggle, but ultimately the opportunities we have to push through some of the hardest times in our life, are the types of stories that have inspired me in my life and that I want to be a part of telling.
Ci potete raccontare qualcosa su come è stato il vostro primo incontro, che cosa vi siete detti, di cosa avete parlato?
It's just so funny thinking about this now, because here we are having our conversation translated into another language, and I just would never have thought we'd be sitting here.
I think actually the first time we met was at an Italian restaurant in the north end of Boston, so it's pretty cool. It's
full circle, yeah.
Full circle.
I love how Italian restaurant gets applause. It was intimidating to meet Jeff. You know, I think he's, as you can see, you know, who he is and how he behaves. He's a light. You know, he has this sort of quality about him, unlike anyone I've ever really met. And for someone who has been tasked to play him in a part, I think as I was walking up to the restaurant, I remember thinking, oh God, I can't do this. I can't play this part. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. I don't have the same strength. I don't think I do. Everyone's going to see I don't have that. I don't have what it takes that he has to survive. And then all of a sudden I shook his hand, and he was just the loveliest, kindest human being. And I felt like maybe I can do this. And it just keeps doing that to people. His story and his presence keeps saying, oh, maybe I can do this. Lets people believe that they can. And that's how I felt, and we've really been friends ever since.
Allora, c'è una domanda lì davanti? C'è una domanda lì?
Hi, Alessandra Tomasi of Magazine. My question is to Mr. Gyllenhaal. I would like to ask you, what's the biggest lesson that you ever learned about this powerful movie, about commitment, relationship and love? Thank you.
I think the most powerful thing that I've learned is that being a hero or being stronger is about the little things, the small moments. I think we tend to make movies or define relationships based on the bigger moments. But when it really comes down to the moments that truly move us, it's those small ones. Those times where when we don't believe we can, someone tells us that we can, or someone shows up that we never thought would, or we show up for someone that we didn't really necessarily feel like we wanted to before. I think what I've learned is that oftentimes just showing up and being there is the most powerful thing that you can do. Not talking, just listening. So you are all being extraordinarily powerful right now. Is really what relationships, real relationships, are about. Probably the most important thing I've learned is that I have a lot to learn about all of it.
Una domanda lì? Francesco alza la mano.
Salve, una domanda per Bauman che può essere estesa anche a Gyllenhaal. Ero curioso di una cosa, una domanda a Bauman, il suo essere eroe, quanto ha pesato, diciamo, l'amore, il fatto che lei stesse lì al traguardo con un manifesto per la sua ragazza, quanto ha pesato per quella che poi è diventata la sua fama, il suo essere eroe? Cioè, l'amore ha pesato e come?
Yeah, I don't really like the term hero at all. I think that there are a lot of heroes in my life, and I look up to a lot of people in my life, and I just, I lean on a lot of people to get me through certain things, and those are my heroes, and especially the people that saved my life that day are the heroes. So, and my caretakers. So I don't see myself as a hero in that aspect. But as for the love, I was there for love, and the love of my wife, and the mother of my daughter. I was there. We didn't have my daughter then, but I was there for the love of just being around people and watching a marathon, my first marathon that I was watching and spectating, and I did make an awesome sign. It was a great sign. I wish I still had it, but it was just I wouldn't be anywhere else. I don't shy away from going to any other place, and just because I love being out and going places, and you can't back down from love. So, as far as being a hero, I just see myself as a normal guy.
Thank you. One of the really beautiful things in this movie was how it treated the effects of PTSD. That's not something we normally see in films. So I was wondering, Jake, did you experience any trauma in your life or people around you that you drew from that you drew from to play those emotions. And Jeff, could you also talk about your recovery today, where it's at, and did telling this story help in that recovery?
Well, speaking of PTSD as a general subject, I think that I have a number of friends who've been in the military, and a number of friends who work in law enforcement, and a number of people outside of that, in different situations they've had in their own life, traumatic situations that have their own forms, many different forms. I have happened through my work as an actor to work with a lot of people in the military, and then also in law enforcement. I played roles where I played a Marine, or I played a police officer, and I've talked actually a lot about that. I think understanding someone in full, not just the event that you're portraying, but the whole idea is what's so great about my job. You can learn things that you'll never play in the movie, but you learn a lot. To me, I don't know if I can fully speak to that. I feel like Jeff is someone who could probably speak to that and should speak to that more definitely, but I think that someone once said to me that they were talking to a soldier, and that soldier said, if they asked them if they had one piece of advice, what would they say? And they said, just treat everyone like they have a broken heart, or like they've had a broken heart. And I think that goes for every human being in the world. I think we know someone who is struggling ourselves, or we ourselves are struggling with something. And I think that Jeff shows us that even though he continues to, and we all do in different ways, that we can get through it. And that's what being human is about.
Yeah, that's what I love, I think, most about the movie is not really the physical. I mean, the physical things, the pain, the stuff that you can see is really amazing, and Jake portrays that well too, but he also portrays the stuff that, I didn't tell him. I mean, I did touch on, I think he saw a lot in my face and what I was going through. But yeah, that's what I love about the movie. It shows like the dark stuff. Like I was just talking to him about the shower scene when I get home for the first time and I jump in the shower. There's so much in that one scene that's amazing, and it's right up PTSD's alley. It's first I'm just learning how to transfer into a tub. Nothing in my house, my apartment, my mom's apartment was handicap accessible because it was just how this happened. It was a freak accident. And I transferred in and I pushed Aaron away. And that's one of the, isolation is huge, and it's when you go through something traumatizing, you tend to want to isolate and kind of hide in your own hole. You want to crawl into a hole and kind of just go away. And to get out of that hole and to kind of get yourself out there is a really tough thing to do. And it's something that I've been working on for 3 years. So for the first 2.5, I was drinking and partying a ton because I escaped. It was an escape to go away and not face what was going on in my head and, physically. And, Jake portrayed that in the movie to a T. It was amazing to see that, and it made me cry. It was, it's really powerful. But as for now, I haven't drank in 16 months, and, I see a therapist on a regular basis, and that's huge. Like, I didn't do that at first. I thought Sully and Big D were my therapist. Let's go to the bar and drink. You guys are great. Let's go watch the Sox. And, all that stuff is fun. Being with your friends is great, but you do have to go and work on yourself and, just work on your mental health really hard. And I should have put that first right out of the gate. That's something else watching the movie. It's like, I see all my mistakes and pushing Aaron away, and, hindsight's 20/20. But now it's like I lead a different life. I'm a great father, and I don't drink, and I don't party, and I take care of myself mentally, and that's huge, and I feel really healthy.
Buonasera a entrambi, avrei fatto questa domanda anche al regista, la faccio a voi qua. Per tanti aspetti il film sembra un film su un reduce di una guerra. La guerra ritorna molto spesso, si parla addirittura di una guerra in Iran quando c'è lo scontro al Papa con i pizzaioli. Ecco, quanto avete sentito come interprete Bauman, come essere umano, di essere reduci di una guerra combattuta sul suolo americano. Grazie.
Yeah, when it comes to that, I've met a lot of vets that have been injured in war, and we all relate by going through something traumatizing, and warfare is very traumatizing, and getting blown up is very traumatizing, and that's another thing that angles towards going through something traumatic, and as a lot of soldiers that come back have, they get isolated, and that's the thing. It's like they were going through this warfare where they were side by side with their brothers for a set amount of time, and then they're thrown back home where they're isolated. And what was that? brothers and sisters. Yes, sorry, brothers and sisters. Very good. Yeah, just being isolated and going through something traumatic, and so I could relate to every woman or man that I talk to that has been through warfare and has lost limbs, and they can see me and talk to me, and same with other survivors. We all connected, especially the amputees, and I have soldier friends and that are amazing, and they I met them first, and I saw them walking, and they would start make fun of me, get me out of my shell. That was great, and I needed that. So it's that was tremendous.
La domanda era anche per Jake, giusto?
I unfortunately really didn't hear the full translation, so I will try my best to piece that together. To me, I feel like, America, but I think the world, and I speak for myself, obviously when I say this, is in a very complicated time. And I think that stories of resilience in the face, and stories about strength being defined by vulnerability, by the ability to connect, to communicate and to understand and take responsibility for one's own self, are the types of stories that I think are incredibly important, given the many different wars that are defined and not defined that are going on today. I think that the confusing part of that scene is that people have many different beliefs, be they really true or not. And I think it's important to be honest about that. We didn't want to make a movie that was only about everybody fully supporting someone through this. He struggled. He goes through pain. There are people who don't necessarily believe in maybe things that he went through because of their own, false politics. It's a confusing time, and I think that that was important for us to show. And just as important as it was to see the pain he goes through when he first has his sutures taken off, it's all a part of a journey. And the journey is a place towards hope. And the journey is about resilience, and the journey is about the triumph of human spirit. And I don't see how you can have the triumph of the human spirit without all the messiness. And that's why I'm as proud of this movie as I am. Sounds like Italian food.
No, c'è una domanda dietro prima, la signora, e poi veniamo qui davanti, prego. Prima la signora dietro, grazie. La signora dietro, grazie. Prego.
Ecco, buonasera, Patrizia Simonetti, Spettacolo Mania. Solitamente quando si verificano questi eventi che sono qui, si verificano questi eventi che portano in qualche modo una sorta di disabilità acquisita, no? Che possono essere provocati da incidenti, da attentati e cose di questo tipo, sono eventi che in qualche modo spezzano la vita, e quindi da lì ci sarà un prima e poi ci sarà un dopo, almeno a sentire la maggior parte delle persone che ne hanno vissuti. E solitamente in questo dopo si sviluppa, oltre a una forza interiore, anche un grande interesse verso gli altri, no? Si vuole essere d'esempio, aiutare gli altri a superare le loro anche di difficoltà e essere un esempio. Quindi volevo sapere da Jeff Bauman se e come è accaduto questo aprirsi agli altri, e da chi lo ha interpretato, quindi da Jake Gyllenhaal, come l'ha reso nel film e se l'ha sentito, insomma, ha interpretato questo personaggio. Grazie.
Yeah, I think that doing the book and the movie has given me this opportunity to actually, show people that you can get through something like this, like a terrorist attack or whatever it might be, or a horrific accident or at work, or a motorcycle accident on a slippery, cobblestones in Rome. It's no matter, people go through traumatizing things and accidents, and I think this movie has an opportunity to shed a light on being disabled and going through the loss of your legs, and I'm really proud of that. And yeah, I would like people that have disabilities to go see this movie and that have gone through something like this to relate to it in a good way and be like, I went through that same thing, and know that they're not alone, because that would be a huge win for me to have people not feel alone. And I think that's kind of what the story is and the movie is all about. It's just finding a way to reach out and connect with the people around me, and that's what I had most difficult. That was like the most difficult thing in my recovery, was just trying to connect to people. I think that's just a powerful message in the movie and in my story. It's just the connection between everybody, and hopefully people can take a positive message out of going through something traumatizing.
Well, personally, I feel like as I understood what Jeff went through, I started to see that during the time when he was trying to recalibrate his physical world, his emotional world, his psychological world, where literally in an instant it was taken away from him, the old life that he knew. There was a confusion in trying to support him. And that confusion came up in making him into a symbol that actually weighted him down more, because he's an extraordinarily big-hearted, kind man. So his responsibility to everybody overwhelmed his sense of their giving him energy to help. They were saying, "You're strong, you can do this." And he was saying, like you do, in a moment, and it's not comparable in any way, but when you hurt yourself in front of a whole group of people, and everyone runs to you and says, and you go, I got it, I'm okay. It's that moment in an impossibly huger sense. And I think we all as human beings want to support each other, but being able to listen and understand what we're going through while also supporting is very important. And I think what I thought was fascinating about Jeff's story was him having to wear that weight, being that symbol, while at the same time trying to understand what was just actually physically done to him. And I think everyone's intention in the community was good, but it became very hard. And I think that is so profoundly human. And it's the kind of complication, again, that I think we make movies for, to say that nothing's simple. And that's why his story is so incredible, because eventually he's risen up to the fact as he's healed himself in life to be able to hold that symbol and to be that person for people. I walk around with him and I see people come up to him all the time. If you have the honor of being able to say hello to him or to shake his hand, he will make your day. He makes everybody feel better around him, and he teaches me things in almost every interaction I see him have with another person. He's pretty incredible.
Hello, I'm Patricia. So, Jake, you said a few moments ago that we live in very confusing times. So, I was wondering, watching your career and also of your sister Maggie, it's very curious to see how you made your artistic choices, because it always seems that you both work for a bigger and greater choice. Well, with Brokeback Mountain, now with the Deuce of Maggie, the diversity of women body, now with Stronger. So, does it run in the family, or just what happened to you kids?
What happened to us? Well, you guys have a couple of hours. I think, you know, we were raised, just like Jeff was raised, by two incredible, very complicated people. And the thing that was always important to my mother and my father was that what you do, you believe in before you take the first step. And by belief, I think it was that it has something to say that's bigger than you, and then you can move into the creative space. And that somehow is just instilled in us, you know, with some other really great stuff and some other really messed up stuff. Which gives us fuel for the work that we both do, and probably why we chose to be actors, which is a really strange profession, but also a really incredible one. And I think that that's what we both believe. We both believe it in very different ways, and I think we both believe it in very different ways, particularly now because she has taught me so much. But being a woman in the industry is very different than being a man. And I think that she has tried through her career and continues to, and is doing an incredible job, particularly right now, of establishing herself as a filmmaker of note and being part of the producerial side of telling a story, while at the same time challenging norms as an actress. And she has always been about being true to herself as a woman, what feminism means to her specifically, and she is bullish and it is beautiful. And being my older sister, she's always instilled that in me. I admire her so much for it, and I think she's part of the reason why I try and do it in that way too. But I would give that credit really to both my mother and my father. So sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail, but we always try to do that.
Vogliamo fermarci qui. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Come le bestie, no?